Good morning. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of the Sunday School Review. This Sunday's lesson is taken from the 45th chapter of Genesis, verses 1 through 8, and the 10th verse through the 15th verse of the 45th chapter of Genesis. Last week, we saw that Joseph's brothers were down in Egypt looking for grain. And Joseph did appear before his brothers, uh, and Joseph at that time did not reveal himself to his brethren. However, Joseph knew or recognized his brothers. Joseph did send them back to their homeland, that is Canaan, with grain. And he did request that his youngest brother, that is Benjamin, would return with them. And as I told you, he kept Simeon as in prison. Now, when they returned back to Canaan, obviously they told their father what had happened, and there were some other things that transpired. I'm not going to cover that. Now, this 45th chapter of Genesis takes us now, his brothers are back in Egypt looking for grain. And the lesson is going to tell us we are in the second year of the famine. Now, now Joseph has put his brothers through a series of tests to see where their heart is, see if they have had a change in heart. And just before we go into this 45th chapter, as I said, they are back down in Egypt with their youngest brother, Benjamin. And Joseph decides to keep Benjamin down there. Now, Judah, one of the brethren, that is the brother that had this bright idea to pull Joseph up out of the pit. Now, after they had conspired to kill him, and then Reuben said, no, don't kill him. We put him in the pit. Now, Judah, one of the brothers, had this bright idea. We're going to sell him into slavery. And that's what happened. Now, we're talking about some 20 years later. Now, okay. Now, just before this 45th chapter, now, Judah, the one that had this bright idea to sell Joseph into slavery, when Joseph said, we're going to keep Benjamin here with us, Judah said, okay, let my brother go. In other words, let Benjamin go, keep me instead. So there again, we see Joseph sees that, yeah, Judah, you was the one that sold me in prison or had this bright idea. Now, yes, I see you have a change in heart. You said, let my brother Benjamin go, keep me instead. So we do see a change in Judah's heart. This lesson here really talks about a family reunion, because as I said, when the brothers appeared before Joseph last week, Joseph did not reveal himself to them. But in this 45th chapter this week, Joseph is going to reveal himself to his brethren. And this is where the 45th chapter takes up, verse 1. Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren. That's verse 1. And verse 2, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians of the house of Pharaoh heard. and verse 3. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Does my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. In other words, they were terrified. And they should have been, because now we see they are confronted with the truth. They know what they did, and they know who they did it to. So they were terrified. They were very afraid at this point in time. Especially, I mean, they really, we don't know what's going to happen to us now. Now, he commanded everybody to leave the room. And he might say, yeah, I know what you did to me, and now I'm here to get revenge. And he called the guards to come take him away. So they are terrified at his presence. In verse 3, they're afraid, and they rightfully so. And we go to verse 4. And Joseph said unto his brethren, come near me, I pray. Now, they were more likely cowered in a corner somewhere. He said, come close to me, come near me. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt. Yeah, I know who you are, and I know what you did to me. Now, if he had stopped there, I mean, at this point in time, they probably are literally shaking in their boots right now. And we're going to see the tremendous forgiveness, because this is what the lesson talks about, reveal love. How could he forgive them for all of the wrong that they had done or caused him to suffer as a result of that? But in verse 4, it didn't stop there. He said, I know who you are, and yes, you sold me in the prison. I haven't forgot that. I remember that. But he go on to verse 5 and says, he didn't stop there. Now therefore be not grieved nor angry with yourselves that ye sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. Now in the next few verses, 5, 6, 7, and 8, you're going to see that phrase repeated 3 times. For God did send me before you to preserve life. He's going to, this phrase is going to be repeated 3 times in these 4 verses. And Joseph, now granted, when Joseph was carted off into slavery, this was not going through his mind. He did not understand at that point the plan of God. But Joseph now understands the plan of God. God did not reveal that to him initially. Now he understands clearly the plan of God. And this is the first time he's making this statement. And we go on to verse 6. For these 2 years had the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years in which there shall be neither earing nor harvest. So in other words, and you know the prophecy, there was 7 years of prosperity, and then followed by 7 years of famine. So again, we only 2 years into the famine. So we got 5 more years to go. Okay, that's what verse 6 is telling us. And we go to verse 7. And here's the statement repeated again. And God sent me before you to preserve you a prosperity in the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. In other words, it was not you that did this, but it was God. So Joseph has already worked this out. Joseph has now seen the hand of God working behind the scenes. But clearly, as I said, he did not see the hand of God working when he was carted off to slavery in Egypt, when he was lied on by the Potiphar's wife, and when he was falsely imprisoned, and when he was forgotten about after he had told the butler to remember him. But all that whole time, from day one, God was working behind the scenes. So it was very essential that Joseph kept his faith and trust in God. And that's the way it is with us. When we're going through difficult situations, we may not immediately see God working behind the scene. But in all that Joseph went through, I think in the chat in Genesis, it talks about, it makes a reference about 8 times that God was with Joseph. So God was with Joseph from the very beginning. But from the start, it may not look that way. And yes, God was silent for many years, but Joseph still had his trust in God. So that's why it was very easy for Joseph to forgive his brothers, because Joseph by this time realized that it was God that was working behind the scene. And yeah, verse 8. So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. Here it is the third time that he's making this statement. It wasn't you that did this to me, but it was God. And we know in the end of Genesis, where Joseph makes this statement, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So Joseph knows, yes, it's easy for me. I'm not going to hold a grudge because it was God's plan from the beginning to work this out. So he said, it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he had made me a father to Pharaoh and a lord of all his house and a ruler throughout all of the land of Egypt. So, and the next verse, which is not in our lesson, verse 9, Joseph then tells his brethren to go right away and get my father. And not only that, and we go to verse 10, not only bring my father, but bring the whole family, as we're going to see in verse 10. And thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near me, thou and thy children, their children's children, their flock, their herd, and all that thou have. Now, Joseph could have told them, so, okay, when he revealed himself, I'm your brother, I'm all good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm going to give you guys some grain and send you on back home. Now, if you have any more need, maybe I'll see if I can help you out. But Joseph didn't do that. He just didn't say, I'm gonna give you some grain. I'm not gonna hold a grudge against you, but I'm gonna give you grain and send you on your way. He goes beyond that. He says, bring the whole family down here. and I'm going to provide for you, and I'm going to put you in a good land. I'm going to speak to the Pharaoh. I'm going to put you in a good land. And you know, that's where he put me in Goshen. That's what verse 10 is telling. In verse 11, and there I will nourish thee. I'm going to take care of you. For yet there are 5 years of the famine. So as I said, we only 2 years in the famine, so that's 5 more years to go. Lest thou, thy household, and all that thou hast come to poverty, unless you starve. So this is this is God's plan, not Joseph's plan. So Joseph sees the big picture now. That it was all in God's plan. Maybe you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Now, in verse 12, when he confirms his identity, and behold, your eyes see, the eyes of your brother Benjamin, that this is my mouth that speaketh unto you. And 13, and ye shall tell my father and all my glory of all my glory in Egypt, and that all ye have seen, and ye shall haste and bring down my father hither. As I said, go get my father, go quickly get my father, and bring the whole clan down here in Egypt, for I am going to take care of you. And we go into our last outline, reaching out in love to Benjamin. And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck, and to his brothers. Moreover, he kissed all his brethren and wept upon them. And after that, his brethren talked with him. Now, and as I said, Joseph is not like, well, we all even now. We all even now. Just get your stuff and be on your way. But Joseph has made a complete restoration. Now, the thing about when you forgive somebody, you can forgive somebody. It's okay. Well, I don't hold a grudge against you. We all even. You can go on your way. I'm just going to deal with you from a distance. But Joseph says, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to bless you. I'm going to provide for your welfare. Now we see Joseph makes a 100% reconciliation here. Now we see the brothers begin to make an attempt at reconciliation. And when we talk about reconciliation, the first part of that is to admit their guilt. Now, we see in this, we talked about last week, they admit their guilt, but now complete restoration does not happen with the brothers for some about 17 years later, namely after Jacob, their father, has died. And probably some of it is because now they feel, well, our father is dead. Our father Jacob is dead. Now Joseph may try to get even with us now, but it was some 17 years later that the brothers came to Joseph and asked for forgiveness. But as I said last week, Joseph had already worked this thing out. He had already forgiven his brothers of the thing that they had done to him. And yes, they has admitted now that they have wronged him, but it will take some more time before the brothers have really made a complete change of heart, a complete restoration. It's a beginning step to the restoration, but it's not, as this lesson ends, is not complete. It doesn't, is not complete until much later in this book. I think around the 50th chapter of Genesis, that the brothers asked Joseph for their forgiveness. But Joseph has already worked this out in his heart, because Joseph saw the big picture. That is, it was God that was working all of the time behind the scenes to save the nation. We'd like to thank you for watching today. We ask you to join in next week for another edition of the Sunday School Review. Thank you.